But digressing, let's get to Mike Coppinger's breaking news. Sources: Ruiz Joshua 2 pulled in around 1.8 million viewers across DAZN's 9 markets. Correcting him, it was 8 markets because the fight was on Wow Wow in Japan.
Wow, ow.
Is that how it's pronounced?
Well, I don't know. It's W-O-W-O-W.
I think you double pronounce the W, and it's Wow Wow. But anyways, digressing. And approximately 200,000 new subscribers, with most of those signups coming from the U.S. This is per Mike Coppinger. I'm of the mindset with these numbers that, especially like when it's like what's above 1 million, I don't think it's ever really bad per se because there's 1 million people watching you. But the framing of it's 1.8 million in multiple markets, I don't know how to properly contextualize that because we never hear that in other events. You know what I mean? Like it's hard to get a gauge on if that is comparable.
Canelo, didn't we? Got it with Canelo. It was like 1.6 globally and 600 were.
No, we're getting it with DAZN cards, of course, because they have more of a global brand. I think that's why they've been using global numbers, and I understand why they do that. But obviously, we don't get the same with Showtime cards, Fox cards, or ESPN cards. So for me, it's hard to gauge in proper context what all these mean because let's be honest, we're using different metrics for everything. Pay-per-view.
I mean, you say Showtime, but that's like one market, right? So we can't sort of get a gauge because they can just go, it's one market, there's the numbers.
Because I saw someone like reply to me because I put out a tweet like saying like, is this good or bad to you guys? I was curious what people's opinions were because I don't know. I feel like I don't have enough information to make a valid opinion about that at times. But somebody said like it's 1.8 million people watching. That's a lot of people watching. And I was like, well, that's 1.8 million people watching in multiple markets, but we've also had cards in the U.S. that have hit 2 million plus, and that's just one market. So, like, is this a bigger success than that? I don't know. And also, I mean, we don't know the UK pay-per-view. Does that mean more than this global number? Let's be honest, because probably more people watch in the UK than globally on DAZN through pay-per-view. You know what I mean? Like, is this truly a great number that DAZN can look at and be like, yes, we're happy with it? I don't know. I don't know if this is deemed success. It's better than the Canelo Jacobs numbers, which was 1.2 million worldwide, as Rob said, and 600,000 in the U.S. were 600,000 viewers were in the U.S. But again, guys, thoughts? I mean, I'm gonna bounce off you guys and your gentlemen. Do you think this is a good number? Is DAZN happy here? Should they be happy? Do you think it's a good number? Do you think DAZN's on the right path with these numbers? Thoughts? Rob, Gary.
I think it's a decent number. Look, Canelo did the 1.6. Obviously, since that fight with Jacobs, we've had
1.2.
Oh, was it 1. Oh, sorry, I'm getting the
600,000
UK pay-per-view numbers as well muddled in. But yeah, like the 1.2 with, was it 600 US?
Yes.
What
half of the viewership was from the US, which I thought was a good thing. You know?
Yeah. So Joshua, if reports are true, has done 1.8. Obviously, there's growth in all those markets since when would that have been? May. Yeah. So there's obviously more subscribers have come along across those markets. So it's hard to know if, oh, look, Joshua, I guess, it's a big rematch. It's like you say, it's hard to gauge because we're not getting sort of actual numbers from each market, and Japan not being one of them, I think maybe lends to it being a good number. Good.
No, it did.
Because I think they're one of their bigger markets, right? Japan.
It definitely, in my personal opinion, it made me go from like, oh, this is kind of an iffy number because it's supposed to be the biggest fight of the year, right? But since Japan wasn't involved in terms of these numbers, it means it's less market, so that means probably more viewership in the U.S. than previously thought. So overall, it's decent. It's definitely better than what he was getting on Showtime in terms of
apparently of the 200, most were from the US, the subs.
The new signups.
So I think if this number is kind of leaked or come out, I think that's a sign that maybe DAZN are happy with it. I know Joe Markowski said we were very happy with how it went. It done better than we expected because it was at obviously the time of day it was happening in the US up against the college football game. at the time, or very close to like it crossing over. So I think it's a good number. Like I say, I mean, I know you put so, but I'm just saying the fight was broadcast in like 90 countries, and I don't know the viewerships of all these countries, how many people are in those countries or whatever. But the 8 markets of DAZN, I thought Germany would be very interested in the fight, having it done so well with Klitschko and Joshua. Got a lot of. Sorry, go on.
Well, because I said so, I just want to give context to why I said that. Similar issue to like global numbers. Like I don't know what the global reach of like Wilder Ortiz. How many countries was that in? I don't know. So it's hard. It's just hard to get a gauge of, is that really impressive comparative to the norm? It's a big number, but I don't hear what these other fights are doing globally. But digressing back to you. Sorry.
Like I say, I thought I maybe thought the numbers might be a little more, but I don't know how much. See, it's difficult with DAZN, especially because DAZN in Italy is centered around. They've got the Serie A football rights. They're going to be a lot like soccer fans. I don't know that boxing is a major market for Italy, just like Spain, just Germany. I would think is a big boxing market, but I don't know if like RTL get a lot of the, or in the past have shown a lot, and are people buying DAZN in Germany for boxing? So it's a real hard number to kind of try and break down, because again, Germany soccer would be in high demand. I think they've got I think they even had World Cup rights, DAZN in Germany. I think they got the soccer World Cup rights at the time when they so it's hard, but for me, I feel it's a good number. It's an increase on the Canelo numbers. If all's true that Mike's saying, so I think if Mike's got a source, it was maybe, don't tell anyone, Mike, but it kind of did this, knowing that Mike would probably say sources and put out the information. So I know Eddie Hearn kind of said Mike's really good because you can go to him if you want something to get out, you can say it. He said, although he is good if you say don't say this, but he said, but he's always got that kind of like sources, and then it's like, I'm just hearing and putting it out there. So I don't know. I think it might have leaked to Mike on purpose.
It 100% leaked to Mike Coppinger on purpose, and I have an issue with Mike Coppinger in terms of a reporter, which we'll get to in a second. But I think he is far too friendly with those in power. Just a digressing point in that. But Gary, thoughts on the numbers and the viewership worldwide for DAZN?
Again, I'd like to see how it breaks down, like what it did in America, but just the number that off the top of the head, it sounds like a really good number. I mean, I don't know. Again, I don't know what DAZN is expecting, but to me, that's a success. That's a win. I don't know if DAZN thinks that's great or they think it's a failure. I don't know what number. It's like movie openings. Oh, that movie opened up at 50 million. That's great. No, we were expecting 100. It's like, oh, I mean, I don't know what they realistically expected, but to me, that number sounds really good.
Well, with the movie, it's easy. Gary, I know maybe you don't. I mean, it's really easy for a movie. Usually, the box office intake for a movie drops by at least 50% for the second weekend. So that's the calculation they're doing. That each weekend you sort of descend by 50% in terms of revenue, and it peters out towards the end. So if you're not making your budget back times 2, you're not making profit, because your budget doesn't include your marketing budget for movies. So similar to, connected back to DAZN and boxing, if we knew the budget of this event, if we knew the budget of the production worldwide for this event for DAZN, and then on top of that, if we knew the intake and revenue that 1.8 million viewers represents for its advertisers, for etc., what that 200,000 subscribers worldwide means in actual revenue, because each market has a different price point. Unless we know that number, it's hard to tell whether or not it's a success or not. It just is. And that goes for all boxing events in a way. Like, it's hard to tell if we do not know the exact intake and outtake of money, whether or not it's making profit. But movies, we do. We do actually have a good idea.
I didn't know that. Now I've learned something. You see, there's a kid from Hollywood on the panel.
Yeah, it does help.
Okay, but yeah, to me that number sounds good. I mean, but DAZN's got a lot of bills, right? They spend a lot of money. So in their perspective, I don't know if it's good or bad. but it to me that's a win.
Matthew D'Souza saying, do we expect DAZN customers to cancel and then resubscribe pre-Canelo fight?
That's the churn rate. That's the whole issue that streaming services have to deal with, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
By the way, the Luis Ortiz 2 was broadcast in 17 countries.
Thank you.
Thank you for that. Gauge.
Thank you for that. I was actually curious. Because 90 did seem high, but I was like...
Yeah. I didn't have a clue, actually. And when you said it, I was like, oh, yeah, I wonder. But, yeah.
I assume, like, the biggies, like, Mayweather fights are telecast across the world in every country.
Wilder Ortiz did United States, Australia, Austria, Germany, Spain, Switzerland, France, Indonesia, Timor. I've never even heard of that place. Ireland, United Kingdom, Japan, Kazakhstan, Mexico, Poland, Russia, Turkey. And by the way, Austria, Germany, Spain, and Switzerland were all DAZN. It was shown on DAZN.
Yes. That's why when I did that DAZN survey, which is not market specific, billion-dollar company doesn't make market-specific surveys. They said, what content do you like the most on DAZN? And the number one option was PBC. I was like, wait a minute. I'd never get any PBC content on DAZN. What kind of malarkey is this shit? But hey, shout out to DAZN, not making market-specific surveys. But anyways, Gary, you were about to make a point.
No, I was just going to ask Rob, can you give us the 90 countries? Can you run down the 90?
No, please don't. We don't have time for that. No, we're good. We're good. But digressing, any other points, guys, on... Oh, let me bring up this point briefly. The Mexico free-to-air TV numbers for Anthony Joshua and Andy Ruiz. Rob, I should have done this, and I was going to, and I forgot. Is there any way you can find the Canelo Kovalev or Canelo Jacobs Mexican TV numbers really fast from Barbosa Box, who is our go-to guy for this? At Barbosa Box, who works with ESPN or ESPN Deportes, saying 6-hour broadcast was on Canal de las Estrellas and did 4.49 million viewers. Azteca TV, Azteca 7 specifically, did 2.95 million. The main event specifically, the peak, I'm assuming the 6-hour broadcast is the average. The main event, the peak, Canal de las Estrellas did 7.12 million, and Azteca 7 did 5.37 million. And he's saying that you can't compare the reach between Canal 2 and Azteca 7. I have no context for that. I just know, hey, millions of people watch this in Mexico, and not really surprised. I want to say from my memory, before Rob pulls up these numbers, that this is around a half of what Canelo Kovalev did, which may seem bad, but I think that's a good thing. That makes sense. I mean, Andy Ruiz shouldn't be as big of a star as Canelo in terms of Mexican TV numbers. It would be really shocking if they hit these numbers, both the fight not being in prime time in Mexico and Andy being relatively a newer star for the sport in a way, because he all of a sudden burst on the scene, not really, but burst on the scene for the casuals just 9 months ago.
Would they all have watched Canelo had he missed weight by 15 pounds?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm joking. I can't find the numbers right now, but I think it was like 10 or 11 million.
I want to say this around half. I am curious though, if if this fight was in Vegas or New York, what the Mexican TV viewership would have been, because I think it would have been significantly better. Like, imagine another 20, 30, 40% of viewers. I would not be surprised by that if they had reached that.
Yeah, it would have been, had it been, if they'd have got their way, DAZN got their way and it was in the States, yes. I think it would have done a much bigger number for sure.
Absolutely.
Probably more subscribers as well, I think.
Yes, absolutely. But they wanted to offset costs in a way on Saudi Arabia. I understand that. Hey, if you're going to offset costs, at least put it on, murderers and warlords. Make them pay for the shit.
Was it Nash said he thinks the DAZN number would have been about 2 million for the fight or something? Still, like broadcast rights, 2 million. I'm pretty sure he said that.
I wouldn't.
I thought Joe Marcosi said like 6 figures.
Here's the thing: we know the U.S. subscriber number is around 800,000, give or take. Right? Let's imagine that 200,000 that subscribed. Most of that was from the U.S. Right, from Matt Carpenter. So let's say 150,000. Another 150,000. So you have near 1 million subscribers in the U.S. for DAZN. I would assume a large percentage of them watch the event, and that's just a cap out number. You know what I mean? Like I don't know if they would have received another double amount of subscribers if it was in the US. Maybe they could have. But there is a cap on how many viewers they could have in the US because of their reach and their subscriber amount right now in the US. So I think John might have a point about why it wouldn't have done a significantly better viewership if it was in the US, because it would have meant that you, regardless of it being the US, you have to get a lot more subscribers to get a higher viewership because you have a low ceiling, so to speak, because you have only 800,000 subscribers in the U.S. But digressing from that point, any other thoughts, guys, on AJ, Andy Ruiz in terms of numbers and viewership?
No, I'd like I say, with the 90 country, I'd love to find out what the global broadcast numbers were. That would be, I'm sure. Like I say, Japan, I think that would have meant it was 6 a.m. in the morning, and obviously different time zones. But yeah, I'd be really curious to know what a certain fights did globally, just to get some kind of gauge and a breakdown of that. But we'll never get that anyway. So
no. And plus, it'd be harder because, for example, Wilder Ortiz too. You would have to get the DAZN numbers, you have to get Fox numbers. You have to get so many different networks statistics, so to speak. That would be so hard to sort of actually be an investigative journalist and hunt down all those numbers. It would take a while to do that.
Well, I have a guy who's a guy that does actually really sniff out numbers, and he said as far as the Japanese one, the Wow or whatever. They're subscription service as well. It's
they're like HBO, Showtime, something like that.
Yeah. So he said not really difficult to try and get those. So then I said, well, there are 89 other countries if you're interested in trying. And he said, yeah, I suppose you're right, I could, but I'm just lazy. So I was like, fair enough.
I don't blame him. You know how hard it is to find your own TV stats within your own country, let alone other countries, right?
You try and use that BARB, British Audience Research Board or whatever it is. You try and use their website. Fuck.
You know what? I went on it the other day. Not as bad as you claim.
Nah, some of it,
you go on ESPN Plus. Try navigating that bullshit.